So what happened then with AIG? Well, in 2004, their financial products division in London began selling credit default swaps for collateralized debt obligations, including the residential mortgage-backed securities. By 2007, they were covering more than $440 billion in various CDO products. Now, these CDOs were rated very highly, AAA rated, where they were perceived of having a very low risk of default. And this was the case with respect to the residential mortgage-backed securities because they were based on the historical data on housing prices, which had always gone up and certainly had been going up for the 10 years that credit default swaps had been being sold. So the idea was, well, there's very low risk that people will default on their mortgages, and so these residential mortgage-backed securities were perceived as being very safe, and so the credit default swaps that were sold for them were perceived as being very safe. So AIG was very confident in selling as many credit default swaps as it did. The problem is, of course, that, again, because the models depend on housing prices continuing to go up, if, as happened, housing prices begin to decline and there's a problem with the market, well, there's a risk that the underlying securities will be downgraded, which would cause the collateral obligations to be triggered. And so the seller of the credit default swap would have to post collateral. Now, of course, AIG was doubly exposed here, too, because at the same time that it was selling credit default swaps, it was also heavily investing in the residential mortgage-backed securities themselves. So in the event of a decline in the value of those securities, AIG would need to take write-downs on its books to reflect not only the lost value of the residential mortgage-backed securities, but also the lost value of the credit default swaps itself. So on slide 10 here, you can see what happened was in 2007, as we had falling housing prices and the residential mortgage-backed securities were devalued, the buyers of AIG's default swaps began demanding billions of dollars in collateral from AIG to guarantee payments, and AIG began writing down billions more to reflect the decreased value of its default swaps.